So if you didn't catch last week's video, I opened up the fireplace because the fire stove company told us the opening was too small for a bigger fire. And the fire that was in here, it was just too small. It didn't really heat up the room. And because I had to remove the bricks at the sides, I'm now left with some chimney voids that take you straight up to the loft. So yes, I did remove the blocks at the sides, but thank you to everyone who suggested putting shuttering. It would have been so much quicker. But now I'm going to get started and bricking it up. Now the first thing which I've already done is remove any flaky bit, hoovered it well, and then I brushed on some SBR because it's potentially porous. And I did that on both sides and left it for 24 hours to dry overnight. And while I waited, I did all of the cuts that I needed to do with my disc cutter. But because I had to cut several breeze blocks down to 32 centimetres, that gave me 10mm mortar either side. This time I screwed 2 sacrificial pieces of wood to the pallet to keep them reasonably secure while I cut them. I'm using Evolution's RC300DT disc cutter with water dust suppression that they kindly gifted me, hooked it up to my garden hose and tap, which I am still getting used to, but it makes such quick work of it, and then also cut the red bricks for the first course. So now those are done, the next thing I need to do is mix my mortar. So because I'm using breeze blocks, I'm mixing a 4:1 ratio, and that's cement and builder's sand. I mixed on my mixing tray because it's significantly cheaper than a cement mixer, then added a little bit of water at a time until it was workable, and scooped it into my bucket to take into the house. So I've got my mix of mortar ready, and what I'm going to do is lay the bricks in line with this square, which is square to the bricks. And I've already drawn a pencil line as well where that is, and I'm going to lay some mortar. I start by spreading a thinnish layer on the ground and smooth it out. And now I'm adding some damp-proof course, just in case, because I had to cut away a bit here last week. So I'm going to do that in line with the pencil line roughly. I can just see it there. Once it's down evenly, I add a good amount of mortar for my first course of bricks, then brushed over the bricks with water for better adhesion before adding mortar inside the frogs for a sturdier base. Although I didn't do this with the top ones further up. No, this is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. Oh, I know what you're saying, use plasticizer. Don't have any. Oh, right, I'm just having to bed it. Any mortar that spilled out of the sides would then be packed into the gaps between the wall and the brick. And then to add my cut brick. Right. Once my full and a bit brick was down, I needed to spend time getting it square and malleted them in line with it. So it took quite a while, but I've managed to get it level on both bricks, both ways. And more removing excess and pointing as I went along. Because I'd previously removed a piece of damp-proof course while widening the opening, I'd seen a brickie add a second piece further up for belts and braces. Okay, theirs was an external brick wall, but I just thought it couldn't hurt. Then continued with a bed of mortar for the breeze blocks. Again, brushing them with water for hopefully a stronger bond. This is a good one of work. I'm amazed it's not fallen off the other side. Right, this is a tricky bit, it's heavy. Oh my God, it's not fallen off. And once on, I used a longer spirit level to check it was plumb, and my small boat level in both directions for the tops, which admittedly, this is probably what took the most time because I don't do this every day and I wanted it to be perfect. Yeah, that's right. Please be right. Thank good God for that. When it came to trying to point between such a narrow gap between my new bricks and the existing ones, I really felt that gloved hands was the best tactic for awkward spaces and reaching behind the bricks. Now when it came to tying my bricks to the existing walls, I did a lot of research, but I found a great window brick up video by Keith at Rag & Bone Brown, I'll leave a link below, who bent some brick ties and drilled and mounted them to the walls using raw plugs, stainless steel screws and washers. And although this was incredibly awkward in such a tiny space, I managed to add them to each side for each course of breeze blocks. It's getting tricky. Then added my mortar straight on top and bedded on my next block. Although the higher I got, the more difficult it was. Just getting everywhere. I'd already done a dry run in this and I knew it was going to get difficult with these. Maybe it would have been better with aerated breeze blocks. I'm using up what I've got. So it was much the same for the rest, taking my time to make sure each block was level and on to the next. So I don't have enough mortar to be practical to continue with breeze blocks on that side. So I'm going to start the damp proof course bit here. It just wants to come off. Now I don't know whether it's because I'm right-handed or I just got better as I went along, but the right side took far less time to get everything plumb and level. Whoa, that was easier than last time. So I've just mixed my third batch of mortar and I'm hoping it's my last. But I've got both sides done now to the same height. Now I'm going to put my final breeze block at the top. I won't be able to put any more. It'll be a push whether I can get this in. Well, I'll make it get in. And then I'm going to put some regular red bricks in. Another set of ties. That's going to get even tighter as well. Anyway, let's get cracking. In terms of camera work, this is one of the hardest projects I've ever done because it's trying to get it in a tight spot. You've probably seen a lot of shoulder and the back of my head in this. Oh, that breeze. It's a very hot day today. This shoehorning, blimey heck. So I'm at the top section now and I'm not going to put a breeze block here because I think it's just too much effort to try and angle it in, get it in. So instead I'm going with red bricks and I'm going to do 2 to 3 rows of it. And I may struggle to get the last brick tie up there. So it's been a few days since I've done the brickwork and something I've realised I didn't film was doing the top few courses. And I've gone up to the same level as the top one on the back section. And overall, I'm really pleased with how it's gone so far. Apart from when I got towards the end of a mortar mix, I try and use any bits to fill in any gaps, particularly around here. But I probably needed to use SBR for that because it didn't adhere that well. So I had to take some of the flaky bits off. So I will deal with this later, which I now have put SBR on, left it overnight to dry. Now I'll just want to fill the gaps either side of the back section, and I've cut a load of breeze blocks up in this size. So I'm just going to jam some mortar in it, just stick them in. Somebody's waiting for their cosy fire. Anyway, now it's almost dry, I think. A bit darker in places, but I'm so glad I went over this again because it's now not loose. The next thing I really want to think about is what I'm going to line it with. We've been to a tile shop and we've got a big piece of slate to think about the hearth, but In terms of tiles, I've got 3 different samples here that I got given for free from the shop. Just play around with. And I'm not sure about the black slate. I think it'll blend in too much. You can add a colour enhancer on them, or the neutral or the white. I am leaning towards the white for the shimmer, and it will be a bit shaded in here anyway. But aside from adding dot and dab next on the front and the sides, what I need to think about is whether to use a backboard to tile it or not, a fire resistant one. And I really don't know what the best thing to do is. I will be using SBR anyway to seal it because it's still going to be porous, but would you use a backboard? The impression I got online was backboard is needed for heavy tiles, but is it? Is it something that a company's just made up to sell it? I'm just in 2 minds because it's fairly smooth anyway. In this condition, I would have thought just use more adhesive and stick it on. Is it important? Let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to be planning the dot and dab stages. Anyway, hopefully you found that useful and you've got some bricky tips for me. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.